Hi, I am really excited to share with you today something that I am discovering and unwinding. I'm calling it sexual misappropriation. And my experience of it is that it is a fundamental mechanism of control in our dominator culture, and really what I want to call the matrix. Like, it feels so insidious and deeply embedded in the fabric of our reality that it seems like deeper than a cultural thing or a societal thing, although I guess it's all the same, but it's weird. So I'm discovering this pattern and unwinding it in myself, and realizing that I've been unwinding it with clients too, and just kind of coming into a deeper level of understanding about what this is and how it happens and the effects of it on all of us. So I'm going to share about that with you. So, sexual misappropriation. I sort of questioned using that word. I looked up the definition of misappropriation, and it means to take something and use it for what it's not meant for. And that's as close as I could get with our limited language that we are working with here. It happens with other energetics as well, a lot, but sexuality feels like this is the piece that is real important and relevant for me. And the emotional pieces are as well, but this one really stands out. So the misinformation or the falsity, it's really not even information the way it's delivered, it's so subtle. The falsity that we are all operating under in our current dominator culture is that our sexual energy, our inner experience of our sexual energy, has anything to do with anyone outside of ourselves. So I'm going to say that again. The falsity that we're all living under is that our inner experience of our own sexual energy has anything to do with anyone else. So just feel that in your body for a moment. So this beautiful example keeps revealing itself to me to be shared as evidence for that not being true. And it's this classic example of and I don't know, like, I read a lot of books when I was younger. I feel like I had this experience, but I did not. The classic example, what feels to me like the classic example of an adolescent boy in math class being asked to come up to the chalkboard and like write out the algebra equation, but he has an erection and he's like mortified, burning with shame, and has to take his textbook with him to the chalkboard, right, to cover up his crotch so that the whole class doesn't see that he's having this inner experience of his own sexual energy. It is not because math turns him on, okay? This is like natural pulses of vital life force energy coming online and bringing him more fully into himself as he matures. That is what that is. There's an intensity of vital life force energy coming online around ages 3 and 4 and 11 and 12 for both boys and girls. Maybe a little earlier for girls and a little later for boys. But that vital life force energy just like surges in the system, bringing the soul more fully in, more fully online. That's what that is. There's no outer circumstance to stimulate the experience of sexual energy in the body, right? And there are a lot of other examples. We probably usually, if not always, attribute our inner experience of our sexual energy to something outside of ourselves as it's happening. So this is a big one to unwind. But I'm going to explain to you how we get here. So if the vital life force energy comes naturally, it just rolls in waves through the body, it comes in pulses. And that's intense at these phases of development, right? But it happens throughout our lives. And when a parent is with their child and they have that experience of their sexual energy moving through their body, and this is through no fault of their own, because this is the matrix that they also are embedded in and, were raised in this energetic pattern. So a parent will have sexual energy arise in their body and be with their child, on some level assume that the sexual energy arising in their body has something to do with their child, because it can't just arise for no reason inside. It has to have an external stimulus, right? This is our training. And then usually that's accompanied by shame, because it's not okay to feel sexual feelings for your own child. Shame is such an uncomfortable emotion to feel that often when shame arises, we choose not to feel it. So there's the sexual energy arising, there's a judgment that it's wrong, there's shame arising, there's a discomfort with the shame, and all of that emotional and energetic material is rejected by the parent, pushed into the field, and picked up by the child. Because the child is more sensitive, more open, less conditioned, and constantly seeking connection with their parent, right? Children, like, their whole world revolves around their bond with their parent. So they're continuously open to receiving whatever connection they can. And so in that moment, they receive a whole bunch of subtle information about it's wrong to feel sexual energy in the body, especially when your heart is open and connected with someone you love, and that shame is innately connected to sexual energy. And that sexual energy arising in the body is innately connected to something outside of yourself, right? So they're receiving this whole download of subtle information in that moment. And it happens over and over again in our lives, right? In our childhoods. And I think, I'm still exploring this, but I think the dynamics are more exaggerated with opposite sex parent and child. But it can happen the other way too. Oh, yeah, there's this whole other piece around like a father having the experience with his son, and that coming with a whole another piece of information around how it's wrong, shameful, and bad to have sexual feelings arise in your body when you're around someone of the same sex, which contributes to homophobia, right? So this feels so important, and it's so insidious, and it's so subtle, and I am fascinated by it and committed to unwinding it in myself, and I'm continuing to unwind it in the collective. So I want to ask you to, just for a moment, let yourself imagine what it might feel like if you completely owned sexual energy arising in your inner experience as your own. When we attribute sexual energy arising in our body to someone outside of ourselves, it sets up a responsibility and expectation, which is a huge part of understanding. This can be a huge part of unwinding this like Me Too culture, right? Where everyone has this experience of unwanted sexual attention, right? So like if I'm fully embodying my sexual energy and enjoying my own sensation, my own inner experience, or if I look a certain way or whatever, and somebody outside of me has an experience of their own sexual energy arise in my presence, they attribute it to something I've done or the way that I look or what I'm wearing or whatever. And then that sets up an expectation that I would interact with them in a way that would, facilitate them having an experience of whatever, of their sexuality in a way that, would feel satisfying to them or whatever. So insidious, right? If everyone was taking full responsibility, ownership of their own sexual energy as it arises in their inner experience, claiming that energy for ourselves, what could be different? Like, just have a look at how our interactions could be different. How the whole fabric of society would begin to shift. And of course, this isn't to say that we wouldn't be attracted to people, but I'm starting to see all of the ways that this energetic thread sets us up for a whole slew of, disempowering situations. And if every single one of us was really owning our power for ourselves, we wouldn't be trading our sexuality for validation, which is a huge contributing factor to disconnected sex, bad sex, and the scenarios like the Harvey Weinstein scandal. So, yeah, I really want to encourage all of us to take more ownership of this incredible power that arises within us. It's like the gift of all life. And this power, this innate, let's just say God or goddess given power that we all come in with the capacity for, is the power that we can use, that we can choose to use to create the lives and realities that we desire, the community structures that we desire, the relationships that are going to be most nurturing and satisfying for us, right? And when we're coming from a place of full ownership and empowerment, then our sexual connections arise from the heart, or from the heart. There's no other factors at play. There's no power to get, there's no validation to get, there's nothing to get outside of yourself. You have it all. And so when you choose to share your sexual energy with someone else, it's for purposes of connection and amplifying the energy, right? So when you're connecting sexually through the heart, then there's a loop, like a figure eight loop that gets set up to amplify the energy for both people, right? When both people are showing up fully owning their power, then they together can amplify the energy for themselves and each other, instead of one person getting more energy from the other. as power or validation or whatever. So that's what I've been thinking about and integrating. And yeah, I hope that any of that made sense and resonated. And thank you. Thank you for watching.